Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 11th of July, now it's 15 to 9 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update today, in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. Second update will be a little bit late on my Patreon page, in which I will share additional news that will be reported by Russian media. By the way, I do extra content on Patreon on regular basis in attempt to generate additional interest among members of our community, and I will be immensely grateful if you will consider to join my Patreon. You will see link under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. That being said, let's talk about news now, and I will start with Ukrainian special military operation. And first of all, quick summary of the situation on the ground, on the front lines. So let's begin with Kherson region. It's by the way, overall situation, assessment of situation is still the same as yesterday. It's kind of operational pause. No one side is conducting any large-scale offensive operations that will influence situation on entire sectors of the front, but there are many local scale battles between the sides. So and I will talk about it today, but let's begin with Kherson region. It's as I said, quite calm. It's operational pause, I guess, and even though in previous weeks Zelensky's regime was actively trying to establish bridgehead on the left bank of the Dnieper River, they were partially successful in initial stages, but then Russian forces did regain operational control over the situation. And even though some Ukrainian units are dispersed on the left bank of Dnieper River, and the Russian forces are conducting search operation to neutralize those units, as I said, overall situation is calm, and Russian forces do have full operational control over this area. And by the way, we did have informations that Russian forces did re-establish control over some islands in the Dnieper Delta. So it seems like not just Ukrainian forces are trying to improve their positions, but Russian forces are also active in this direction. But yet again, overall situation is cannot be compared with previous week, when quite significant activities were taking place. When it comes to Zaporozhye and South Donetsk sectors of the front line, there were some serious local scale clashes between the sides, especially in direction of Rabotina, that's right up front of Orekhov. And we did had many reports about failed attempt of Ukrainian forces to conduct offensive in direction of Rabotina, and I did share many video and photo material on my Telegram page with destroyed Ukrainian columns and destroyed manpower. Basically, it did look like some suicidal mission, to be honest, like Ukrainian forces were conducting in the first stage of this so-called counteroffensive in early days of the June. So yes, they did try to attack Rabotina, but they did not manage to achieve anything really, other than losing manpower and equipment. I will speak about it in little more detail in a minute. When it comes to Pichikhatki-Zherebyanki direction, which is also quite active on the western part of this sector of the front, it's still kind of operational pause. Ukrainian forces did try to re-establish control or re-enter Pichikhatki settlement, but they were met with Russian artillery and they were forced to retreat once again. And Ukrainian forces also did try to conduct some offensive operations in direction of this bridgehead between Uglidar and Gulyai-Polye, but yet again they did fail without achieving any significant success, and Russian forces still remain on this Remevsky ledge and are basically in operational control of the situation. Yet again, when it comes to overall assessment of this counteroffensive, and by the way, this area, Zaporozhye sector of the front line and South Donetsk sector of the front line, was the main direction of Ukrainian counteroffensive, and it's more than a month now, and If Zelensky's regime can say anything whatsoever in terms of success, well, they can brag about only now reaching first line of defense, because formally Rabotina, this small settlement here, we can consider as a part of a first line of defense, even though some Russian military experts are saying that Rabotina not really on the first line. First line is a little bit behind that settlement. But you can judge by yourself. If Zelensky's regime truly has any success, when you are comparing results of Ukrainian counteroffensive with tremendous losses that Ukrainian forces had during the previous months in these sectors of the front line. As I said, way before this counteroffensive even began, as I was predicting, this operation was suicidal from the very first day, and that's exactly what is happening. Suicidal for Ukrainian armed forces. When it comes to Donetsk direction, it's mainly two main hot points, Marinka and Avdiivka, and in both directions Russian side was quite active in previous 24 hours, and there are some reports that Russian forces managed to improve a little bit their positions in Marinka, and also there were some fierce fighting in Avdiivka direction, and many Russian language pages on Telegram and other media sources are reporting that Avdiivka is in operational control now, because Russian forces did manage to establish fire control over all the roads that are connecting Avdiivka with the other territories that are still under control of Zelensky's regime. When it comes to Bakhmut direction, as I mentioned quite a few times before, Zelensky's regime gradually losing initiative, and if they already lost initiative on the northern flank of Bakhmut, in the southern flank they are still trying to conduct some local scale offensive operations, but without any significant success, and probably we will be right if we will say that initiative in the southern flank of Bakhmut is also changing hands, and it's Russian side now. And of course, Kurdyumovka and Klishevka, main directions of Ukrainian offensive, local scale offensives in this area, is still under full Russian control, and Russian forces are regaining control over some strongholds, some areas that were lost previously during that push of Zelensky's regime on the southern flank of Bakhmut. When it comes to Seversk direction, we did have some reports that Ukrainian forces and Russian forces both did try to conduct some local scale offensive operations. As I understand, Russian forces were a little bit more successful, but yet again we are talking about local scale, and these operations hardly will be able to influence overall situation on this sector of the front, but still step by step Russian forces are improving their positions, and basically I believe preparing ground for a large-scale offensive operation in direction of Yampol Liman, which will probably take place in coming weeks. In next 2-3 weeks we will probably see large-scale offensive of Russian forces in that sector, and of course hot point is Belogorovka. Russian side and Ukrainian side both are trying to improve their positions here, but it's still in the gray zone and disputed between the sides. And also Kupiansk direction, Ukrainian forces did try to conduct, as I just mentioned, Ukrainian forces did try to conduct some offensives in central and northern parts of the front, from Seversk to Kupiansk, and they did fail again. And it seems like, I did share video footage of that local scale offensive operations that Zelensky's regime did conducted, and to be honest, I get feeling that these Ukrainian units don't really know what they are doing, because they were trying to attack on the front. They were trying to conduct frontal attack on Russian positions, and they were obliterated. So I just don't really understand what is going on in the heads of officers of Ukrainian forces that are sending their men in suicidal operations like that. But yet again, that's what we are seeing, and that's what we see by objective means of control. We have video footage of it, and everyone can judge to himself what is going on. And by the way, same style attack, same style frontal suicidal attack was conducted by Ukrainian forces in the direction of Rabotin also, and that's why during the yesterday's clashes, Zelensky's regime probably lost up to 20 military vehicles, including Western-made battle tanks, Leopard 2s, and the Western-made armored personnel carriers, plenty of them. And you can see on my Telegram page video and photo confirmation of this. And of course, Russian Defense Ministry will give us additional information today, and I will share that information on Telegram. And when it comes to Kharkov direction, there are some reports that shelling of Belgorod and Bryansk region did succeed a little bit. Ukrainian forces are not that active in terms of shelling Russian territories, but yet again, I'm quite sure Russian Defense Ministry, Russian General Staff is preparing an operation for large-scale offensive in direction of Kharkov, because without establishing full control over the Kharkov region, Belgorod, Bryansk, Kursk regions of Russian Federation cannot be safe. Cannot be in safe place, let's say this way. So this is quick summary of the situation on the front line. Of course, if you want to learn in more details what is happening on the front, I will recommend the military summary channel and Alexander Christoforous channel. They do great analysis of situation on the front line, and there are many other channels also. You can see them in recommendation list that I have in description box. There are many channels there that I do regularly watch. So that's been said, let's talk about some other news now. And by the way, during the previous night, Russian side did conduct quite large-scale strikes on the military and logistical infrastructure of Zelensky's regime, and according to information that we are getting this morning, explosions were heard in Cherkasy, Poltava, Zaporozhye, Dnipropetrovsk, Kiev, Nikolaev, Odessa, and several other regions of Ukraine. And here RIA Novosti is reporting that in Nikolaev, for example, ammunition depot was destroyed, in which Zelensky's regime were hiding long-range missiles, Western-made long-range missiles that were deployed by planes. So I guess, even though there are no specifics in this report, but I guess it's HARM missiles, probably, that was delivered to Zelensky's regime by US, Biden administration, or maybe it's Storm Shadow cruise missiles. That's two type of missiles that are launched from planes and do have quite long range. I guess during the day Russian Defense Ministry will share with us additional information, but if it's true and if RIA Novosti is not mistaken, then well, Zelensky's regime will find it a little bit harder to hit deep inside Russian territory before they will receive some additional portion of these long-range missiles from the Western elites. Let me continue now. TASS news agency is reporting that Ukrainian forces did lost, as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, did lost quite a few Bradley armored personnel carriers in Zaporozhye sector of the front line. Well, that's true. I did share, and this information is based on statements of Vladimir Rogov, head of NGO We Are Together with Russia, We Are with Russia, and I believe he is also official in Zaporozhye region. But anyway, he's constantly are making updates on situation on the front line, and Russian media do pay attention to his updates. And well, he's absolutely correct. I did share many video and photo confirmations of destroyed Bradley armored personnel carriers and also Leopard 2 tanks from yesterday's clashes in direction of Rabotina. So no reason to doubt statements from Rogov. And the next news is also from TASS. This time, head of DPR Jan Gagin did said that during the clashes in previous days, one platoon of foreign mercenaries were neutralized, destroyed, and according to Gagin, very well may be that this platoon was mainly created with US citizens, but yet again, just because Russian side did listen to radios of that platoon and they did hear English language, that not necessarily means that they are US citizens. They may be Australians, they can be Canadians, British, from South Africa. I mean, there's many countries in this world that English language is main language there. So, but information itself is interesting that one more platoon with foreign mercenaries were destroyed during the clashes of in previous days. And by the way, also very important, I believe, information. Yesterday, all the Russian media outlets did report about meeting between Prigozhin and Putin on 29th of June. Well, Russian media did report it exactly on 29th of June, based on some officials that Kremlin don't know where Prigozhin is. But in reality, according to news that we are receiving now, Prigozhin had a meeting with Putin with some 20 to 30 other people, military personnels, high-ranking military personnels, and I believe leaders of BMC Wagner units. No information about this conversation, what was discussed, but this fact itself, this news itself, that Prigozhin had a meeting with Putin, will of course influence to popularize even more ideas that entire this military uprising or armed rebellion was some kind of special operation for some reasons, which did go wrong at some point, because one plane and a few helicopters were shut down during those days. And by the way, there are some rumors that Putin never gave order to open fire on Wagner units. It was, according to rumors, yet again, it was some general in air forces who did give such a order. But yet again, I believe after this meeting, after we know for sure that Putin had a meeting with Prigozhin, rumors that entire this ordeal was part of some political or geopolitical play. These rumors will of course intensify. I don't know what was planned. I don't know if it was even a kind of a plan of something else. But you tell me what you think, you know. But I do believe that these rumors will definitely intensify, that it was planned from very beginning. Maybe to fool Western elites, maybe to deploy Wagnerites to Belarus, maybe for some other reasons. Yet again, I don't know. No one from Kremlin do share with me information, so we can only guess. Let me continue and let me check how long is this video. 19 minutes. Okay, I will just go through headlines because there's so many news. So Interfax is reporting that in Krasnodar yesterday, high-ranking Russian officer was assassinated. He was at that time he was working on mobilization to improve process of mobilization. And even though mobilization is not taking place right now in Russia, but during the first wave of mobilization that we see, there were some difficulties, and it's understandable that Moscow now wants to deal with those issues and improve system of mobilization. And this officer was involved in this process, and he was struck with mercenary during his morning's run and morning's exercise, and he was assassinated. There are some rumors that this was done under orders of secret services of Zelensky's regime, but yet again, officially we don't have statements yet about involvement of Zelensky's regime in this killing. But yet again, this information does highlights need to protect officers of Russian armed forces, and they should be careful. They should take care of themselves and be more cautious, because there are so many instances when Zelensky regime did assassinate people on Russian soil or try to assassinate. So I believe Russian Defense Ministry will give, we will do everything possible to make sure that officers are more cautious and more safe. Let me continue. By the way, I'm not mentioning name of killed officer. Why? It's tragic story, but this information have been reported by all the media outlets. And he was, at some point, he was a captain of Russian submarine, according to some reports, that was involved in special military operation, and this submarine was conducting caliber missile strikes on military and logistical infrastructure of Zelensky's regime, and because of it, I believe this officer should have some security, or should be more careful. But yet again, I believe Defense Ministry will try to, by orders or by some other means, will try to make sure that officers and military personnel in general are more cautious and careful. Let me continue now. Leopards is reporting that Kremlin once again did react on this information about freeing of Azov commanders by Turkish government, and those Azov leaders are in and Azov is a terrorist neo-Nazi organization, by the way, and Turkey did free terrorists that were leading that grouping. And Kremlin once again did react on it, and Dmitry Peskov once again did said that Moscow considers this move from Turkish side as a break of agreement between the sides. Lavrov did had a talk with the foreign minister of Turkey day before yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. They also did discuss this topic, and well, if there was some behind the scenes negotiation between Moscow and Ankara about this topic, then that's one story. Indeed, in that case, relationships between Turkey and Russia probably will not deteriorate at all. But if Turkish leadership act without consulting with Moscow, then probably we will see some level of deterioration of the relationships between the sides. I mean, in coming days we will see it. RIA Novosti is also reporting that according to Russian Foreign Ministry, according to official statement of Russian Foreign Ministry, attacks of Zelensky's regime deep inside Russian territory with long-range missiles, all those missiles were shut down according to Russian side, but still Zelensky's regime did try yet again to conduct strikes with long-range weapons, and according to Russian Defense Ministry, this type of operation could not be done by Zelensky's regime without direct involvement of US and direct assistance, which is probably true. I'm not military expert, but we all know that US do shares intelligence information with Zelensky's regime in real time. And well, I have no doubt that US and probably UK was involved in these strikes, but yet again, question is, what will Moscow do about it? Because just statements don't stop Washington and London to kill Russian citizens. That's it, really. Washington and London, governments of UK and United States don't stop killing Russian citizens just because of statements that was made from Russian side. They may stop if they are forced to stop, but just statements not gonna influence anything, really. And also RIA Novosti's report, by the way, that NATO member states could not agree on topic of Ukraine and Ukraine's and NATO member states cannot agree on topic of Ukraine joining NATO, this alliance. And to be honest, I said many times before, I just don't understand why this topic even have been discussed, because according to NATO paragraphs, according to NATO rules itself, they cannot receive country that is in conflict and has some territorial issues, and Ukraine is in conflict and has some territorial issues. So there is no basis to discuss this topic whatsoever. There is no basis for it, but still, for strange reasons, entire Western elites, entire Western world media are discussing this topic day by day. Will NATO receive Ukraine? Will NATO not receive Ukraine? Of course, Ukraine will never become member of NATO, man. Never. It's just impossible. Who they are trying to fool, or what kind of circus is that? I truly don't understand. They supposed to be grown-up people. They're supposed to be, clever ones, and they still are spending time on this non-issue whatsoever, because Ukraine cannot become a member of NATO. It's just too obvious, for God's sake. But anyway, we are seeing this topic have been discussed time after time in the Western by Western elites, Western media, and Russian media is also reacting on it. And well, by the way, today this NATO summit in Vilnius will begin, and if any statements or any decisions will be made, of course I will report about it on my Telegram, and also I will share information from if any counter statements will be made from Moscow. But yes, topic of Ukraine is still discussed in Western media and elites, which is truly shocking. How stupid they are, really. Those Western elites. Why they are discussing this non-issue? I don't get it. RT is reporting that US did reveal some insight to its offering to Zelensky's regime, that they will provide some Israeli-style security guarantees. Well, there were some statements made in Kiev that it's unacceptable for them. But yet again, as long as this conflict continues, Ukraine won't receive any security guarantees whatsoever, because it will mean that any country that will issue such guarantees will straight away become involved in this conflict. And I don't think Biden administration are that stupid that they will push US in direct conflict with Russia, because it will destroy both countries and the entire world, basically. But it seems like It seems like US elites have become hostages of their own propaganda, and they did talk about this Ukraine become a member of NATO so many times that they are trying to find some alternatives now. What they gonna offer to Zelensky's regime because they will not receive Ukraine in NATO. I mean, truly some crazy games have been done by Western elites, and you know, it's becoming truly hard to take these people seriously, man. And RIA Novosti is reporting, and this information is based on German's Bild newspaper's article or information that Zelensky is extremely mad on Western elites that Ukraine will not receive invitation to join NATO during this summit in Vilnius that will take place today and tomorrow. And well, who the hell is Zelensky, for God's sake, man? Bild is supposed to be some serious media outlet, or maybe it was sometime before, but I mean, to come up with this kind of article that Zelensky is mad on Washington and London and Western elites in general. What the hell is Zelensky, for God's sake? I mean, he's a no-name puppet whatsoever. He's just zero. He's an actor who was put in that place of a president of Ukraine to act. He has no say in any topic whatsoever and will never have any say. He is nobody. So who cares? Zelensky is hungry or not hungry, or who the hell is Zelensky, for God's sake, man? How these big, supposed to be big names, I mean, and serious media outlets spending time on such a crap topics. Yet again, it's too many stuff that it's confusing, really. And well, let's continue. Ex aide of Pentagon, Colonel Douglas McGregor, did comment on topic of cluster munition that will be delivered to Zelensky's regime by US, and well, he did criticize this move. I did share his interview with Andrew Napolitano yesterday. I did share a video on my Telegram page. You can check it. Interesting conversation as always. And yes, he was critical of this decision, and he did mention that these weapons are not that effective, really, and these weapons were created when precision-guided ammunition was in short supply, or even non-existent in some areas of weapon systems. And now US do have much more effective shells, but yet again, Biden probably was correct when he did answer to a question of one of the journalists when he said that they are supplying Zelensky regime with cluster munition because of shortages of other ammunitions, ordinary ammunitions. That's it, really. And by the way, yet again, there are some reports on internet that these ammunitions have about 14% of BRAC, 14% of ammunitions. These small mines in these cluster munitions probably don't detonate, and that they will make huge areas just no go zone, and it will take probably decades and decades to demine all the territories that will end up under fire of that type of weapons. How long is this video? 34 minutes. Okay, just the headlines. RIA Novosti is reporting about statement that Stoltenberg made, according to which Turkey is basically agree Sweden to join NATO, and well, they had a meeting. Stoltenberg had a meeting with Erdogan yesterday, and I believe with a Swedish high-ranking official. And yes, according to Stoltenberg, agreement have been reached that Turkey will not oppose Sweden to join NATO. But yet again, can you trust Erdogan, man? I don't know. Erdogan will probably come up with some additional demands, and some media outlets did report that Erdogan is demanding Turkey to join EU in return of accepting Sweden in NATO. So yet again, Erdogan will probably conduct some trade. Not probably, but he will definitely try to trade with this topic. RT is reporting that Biden will meet Zelensky in Vilnius during this NATO summit. Well, okay, they can meet each other. Zelensky will act as a angry president. Biden will probably have difficulties to understand where he is and who he is talking to. But anyway, this media ops don't really mean anything. RIA Novosti is reporting that, oh, by the way, that's quite interesting. Head of Russian foreign intelligence, Sergei Narishkin, did made quite a few interesting statements, and one of them is that according to Russian foreign intelligence, US is planning to use media actively to somehow influence Russian society, with the idea that it's okay if Russian society will use force to replace current government. If that's true, if US gonna spend some money on it, I mean, they are in State Departments, in US Secret Services, they are even more stupid than I was thinking about them. I mean, they don't know situation in Russia whatsoever, man. They don't know situation in Russia because society in Russia will, no matter who they are support, which politician, which political party, society are very far from ideas to destabilize country. No one wants destabilization of Russia. Everyone wants peace and stability. Vast majority. No matter how much money US gonna spend, they will influence nothing really in these matters. Also interesting news. RIA Novosti is reporting that Russian manufacturing plants are doubling production of Su-34 and Su-35 fighter jets. Su-34 is a fighter bomber, frontline fighter bomber, quite successful member of Su-27 family. That plane is based on airframe is based on Su-27, even though it's a little bit different. You are all familiar, I believe, with that plane. And Su-35 is one of the best fighter jets in the world, according to all the military experts. So that's quite interesting. Yesterday I did see a question on comment section about production of Su-57 5th gen fighter jets and T-14 Armatas. Well, there were some reports that Su-57 production of Su-57 is also increasing, but because that plane is a secret one, mainly there usually we don't receive any some specific information about it. There were just reports that production of Su-57 is also increasing. When it comes to T-14 Armata, it's a little bit different story, because I believe now Russian manufacturing capacities are mainly busy with modernizing all the tanks and producing latest version of T-90, T-90M Proriv tanks, and those tanks, T-90M, probably are one of the best main battle tanks in the world right now. Certainly better than Leopard 2 A6 that Western elites did deliver to Zelensky's regime. Let me continue now, and this is quite interesting information. CNN, as I said many times before, Russian media do pays attention what have been said or written in Western media, and this time TASS is writing about CNN's news that Rheinmetall, this German giant in military-industrial complex, in 3 months' time will begin to produce tanks in Ukraine. Well, I don't know what the hell is happening with CNN, but it seems like this propaganda outlet really lacks clever people, because I mean, do they understand what the hell is going on in Ukraine? What 3 months? I mean, what Rheinmetall? How they come up with this kind of crazy nonsense informations, man? Rheinmetall will start produce nothing in 3 months in Ukraine or ever. They will never produce anything in Ukraine. That's it. But yet again, Western media somehow are trying to push this narrative that, I mean, everything is okay there in Ukraine. Everything is okay, you know. Ukraine is gonna be an ergo hub by 2050. Ukraine gonna have factories of Rheinmetall and produce, I don't know, Leopard 2 tanks. Maybe Ukraine gonna start producing Boeings and Airbuses also. They living in some fantasy world, man. I'm telling you. Western elites and Western media outlets, I mean, Western so-called journalists, they are living in some fantasy world, man. Truly. They truly beginning to believe in lies that they are generating, and as a result of it, they are incapable to see through now. They are just incapable to see and recognize true. That's it. Okay, let's continue. And Kommersant newspaper is reporting about statements that was made by sister of Kim Chen-in, head of North Korea, and this woman, Kim Yo-jong, she is one of the most powerful people in North Korea, according to some reports. And she did make statement that yesterday U.S. surveillance plane did cross North Korea's aerospace 10 times. No, 8 times. 8 times. And she said that if this type of accident will repeal, it will create an extremely dangerous situation for US. And well, I don't know what she meant, but North Korea is a very specific state. I don't know what level of control China has over the North Korea, and if US will provoke Pyongyang, well, they can do anything though. I would not be surprised if they will even launch missiles. I just, as I said, man, North Korea is a very specific state, and if China don't control situation there for 100%, then I don't think it's a good idea on part of US to provoke North Korea's government. I truly don't think so. So they should stay away from North Korea's borders. By the way, RT is also reporting that French energy giant Total, if I'm not mistaken, yes, Total Energies, did come up with statement. CEO of this company, Patrick Poinet, and he said that EU may face gas supply constraints in the winter. There may be some shortages, basically, which is well. It will be quite understandable, really, because EU member states, many EU member states, did say nothing when Nord Stream pipelines were destroyed, and many EU member states did cut off the ties with Russia, the trade with relationships with Russia, and without Russian gas, of course, they will find it difficult to go through winter times, especially winter times, when heating is for heating purposes, billions of cubic meters of gas is used. But yet again, no one forced them to do so. It's EU's decision. EU member states wanted it, and well, previous winter was quite okay, as I understand, in EU member states, because it was mild. Who knows what kind of winter will be this time around? And well, if Total, head of Total, is saying that there may be some shortages, probably he knows what he's talking about. And last news for today's update: Russia is planning lithium production push. Russia has vast reserves of this rare earth metal, and it's quite logical to try to invest in segment of production of lithium batteries, because it's a main source of energy for electric vehicles. And we all know that these electric vehicles becoming are taking more and more percentage on the car market. So well done. If Russia has an opportunity to become one of the major sources of not just lithium but lithium batteries, and well, why not? And how long is this video? 46 minutes. No matter how hard I try to make shorter updates, they still are 40, 45, 50 minutes, man. But anyway, I hope you will find this update interesting, and if so, please hit that like button and leave some commentary. As you probably noticed yesterday and day before, more likes and comments my videos have, more chances are that we will somehow manage to deal with YouTube's algorithm. More likes and comments do make difference. And by the way, if you can, please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on Telegram, Twitter, Facebook, or any other platform that you are active on. And if you think this channel is interesting, has some potential and useful, please consider to support with small donation through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You will see links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.